Hello and welcome to SourceCAD. In this video, I will introduce you to the exciting world of 3D scanning with Polycam app. Now, using Polycam app on an iPhone or iPad, you can scan the objects and environment. You can also import these objects as 3D models with clear texture and surface details. Now, for scanning space, you need an iPhone or iPad that supports LIDAR sensor. But for scanning objects, you don't even need a LIDAR supported phone. And you can directly use the photo mode to scan objects using simple phone camera. Now, the next video is all about scanning with photo mode, but this video is all about scanning space with the LIDAR sensor of phone. Now, the LIDAR, which also stands for light detection and ranging, is a method where laser is bounced off objects and the time it takes to reach back to the sensor is calculated to measure distance of objects. So it is kind of like how radar works, and it is now a standard feature in iPhone 12 Pro, iPad, and many other new Apple models. Now, currently Polycam is not available on Android devices. It may become available soon for Android phone too, as we now have a photo mode which does not even need a LiDAR sensor. Now about this video, here I've explained a step-by-step method of not only scanning but also modifying, measuring and exporting data using LiDAR mode of Polycam app. So now let's get started. So when you start Polycam, this is the screen which you'll usually see, and the first thing that we need to do here is set the units. Now to set the units, you need to click this gear icon. When you do that, it will take you to this setting option where you can set units here. So we have imperial or metric. You can switch between any of these two units. I'm using imperial for this one. Now I'll go back to the list of all scans which I have here, and I'll start a completely new scan. And to start a new scan, you just need to click this plus icon which is right next to the gear icon, and this will take you to the scan mode. So after selecting the LiDAR mode, simply tap here to start scanning this area. And here the idea is to get rid of as many blue facets or these triangular regions as you can. Now you obviously don't need to get rid of every single one of these blue facets because Polycam will automatically merge it in the end when processing this data, but try to capture as many details as possible to have a better quality output. Also, you can flip your phone horizontally if you want to record it that way, and you can even record the room in vertical direction, so either way is just fine. Now I'm fast forwarding this recording and I'll directly get to end of this. Alright, and here we are. Now you just need to process this. So select the type of object. In this case it is a space, so I'll select space and click on process, and it is now processing this. Now this processing will depend on the actual size of your scan. So if this scan is big, the processing will take quite long. If it is small, it won't take that long. And here we have the final result. Now, as you can see, this will scan it entirely with all the textures and colors. And not only that, you can remove unwanted area using this crop feature. So select this crop feature and now select the scanned area. And here you can see all the 6 faces. Select the face you want to crop and then move it inside. Now anything outside this face will be cropped. You can repeat this process for all the other faces. So in this case, I've got 6 of these faces and I just need to crop this face as well. So I've got the first one. Now I'm selecting this and I'll move it slightly inside to remove anything which is outside this plane. So I'll just move it inside, and once you are done, click on this crop option. And now this will take a few seconds, and here we have the cropped scan. So all the unwanted areas are now removed and we have only the scan detail which we actually need for this model. Now another great feature related to this 3D scan is the ability to measure distances. Now it's very easy measuring distance using this scan data. All you need to do is just select this measure tool. Now after selecting this measure tool, select the ruler option, which is the first one, and then click on 2 points. So here I have selected the first point and second, and here we have 5 feet 9 inch as the distance between these 2 points. Now this distance will depend on the unit which you have set. Now I'll click on this point and this point again, and here it is 5 feet 6 inch. So I've set this unit as imperial, so that's the result which I'm getting here. Now if you want to export this data as a floor plan, then all you need to do is just tap on this floor plan option, and this will export it as a floor plan with wall distances. So I've selected floor plan, and now you can see the distance as 11 feet 1 inch, 11 feet 6 inch for both the walls, and you can even see the entire floor area of 93 square feet. Now if you want to export this as a blueprint, then well, here's the option. Select the blueprint option, and this will export the final data like this. Now this is just a simple image, and here you can even measure it. As you can see, the scale is 1 pixel is 1 centimeter, so you can use a simple image processor to even measure this. And if you want to export this, simply click here, and now you can export it using messages or even email. In this case, I am using email to export this file, but as mentioned earlier, you can use other methods as well for exporting this file. Now once exported, you can import it in any program like AutoCAD and use it as a background to make your drawings. Alright, so now let's talk about extending the scans. So once you have created a scan of an area, you can extend it further and you can add more areas into that. Now to extend the scan, all you've got to do is start with the previously scanned model. In this case, I'm just going to select this scanned model, and from here I'll start. So here we have the model. Just click on this extend option, and this will let you extend it. Now we are in the scan mode, and start with anything which you have previously scanned. For example, this plant. So I've scanned this plant, and as soon as you see this message that capture recognition is successful, you can move to other areas in this scan. So now I've moved outside my office room, and now I'm scanning more areas. So you just need to ensure that you have scanned at least something from your previous scan, and when Polycam is successful with the scan recognition, you can move to other areas. So here once again, I'll fast forward this video and I will scan as many details as possible. Alright, so here we have it. So now that you have the scan, select a space and once again click on process, and as you can see, it has separated both the scans. The previous one is in green and the new is again in its different color, so you can identify it, and once you save it, it will save it as a separate file, so the new one won't be affected. So once I click process, once again it will start processing this, and all of this processing is happening locally. So it's not processing anything on the cloud, and it is just using the resources from your iPhone or the iPad just to process this. And here is the final result. So once again, we have got everything processed here, and now you can explore your scan just like the previous ones. Here also, if you want to crop it, you can crop it, or you can just move around inside this kind of like this and explore the scan. You can also click on this first person control feature, and this will give you kind of a view as if you're walking inside this house. So you can just move forward, backwards, left, right, and also you can adjust the height using this slider. So it's kind of exactly like walking inside the room, and you just need to get a hang of this feature at least, and that was my first experience when I started using this one. So you need to make yourself a little bit familiar with this one to control it properly, but once you get a hang of it, it's completely easy and kind of very intuitive once you are familiar with this one. So once again, I'll move back to the default orbiting feature here. Now here also you can click on this measure option, and this will take you to ruler, floor plan, and blueprint. So once again, you can select the ruler, click on 2 points, or you can select floor plan and see this entire floor plan. So you've got all of these distances. So 12 feet 6 inch, 12 feet 7, and the entire area is 390 square feet for this one. Once again, click the blueprint and you have the blueprint now. Just like the previous example, you can export this too. Alright, so now let's talk about the markup feature, but before that, here is a comparison between the real site. So this is the real site which I'll be scanning, and then using this scan I'll explain the markup feature. So as you can see, this is what the video looks like, and now this is the final scan. So after making the scan, this is the final result. Now you can clearly see how the textures and everything have come out here. So all the details are pretty much intact, but the smaller details like the poles, which are really very kind of thin, are not in this final scan. Now you can actually rescan the problem areas, and then you can do that using extend feature. So you can just extend it and add more details into this scan. Now let's talk about adding markup, and for that click this camera icon. Now once you have clicked it, it will take you to this. Now here you can add markups using different options. So you can use pencil, pen, highlighter and things like that. In this case, I've started by selecting this highlighter, and after selecting it, just mark the areas. For example, here we don't have the poles or the pillars, so I'll mark it, and I'll also use this pen to add an arrow, and I'll add a text as well, like this one. So pillar, so they're missing, so I'll maybe just add it like this. Now of course you can export this one as well if you want to send it to someone else to maybe fix this one again. Now this is kind of a markup which you can use. Now if you want to change the color, that option is right here. So just click this and then select a different color for the markup. Once you are done, you can now once again go back to the pens, highlighters, and then select it and change the color. You can also erase the markups which you don't want using this erase tool. So using erase, you can simply wipe it off, kind of like this. Now if you want to add markups precisely, then use this ruler tool. So using this ruler, you can add markups at different angles simply by rotating this one. And also if you just want to add maybe let's say straight lines, then you can just move this ruler around and then use it as a reference to create straight highlighters or other lines. So here I'm using these highlighters as a reference. So I've got these highlighters added here. Maybe I'll erase this area and add one more pillar here. So these are the places where we just need to scan it. So maybe we can add it like this, and then add a couple of arrows and add more details to highlight the areas that actually need markup. So now let's talk about processing this scan with custom settings. So I'll select this scan here, and now I'll process it with our own settings. So select process, and this time it will show you, well, same options, but select custom. Now inside custom, we have several properties. For example, depth range, voxel size, and simplification. Depth range is simply the range which is provided by LIDAR sensor, and its maximum is 5 meters. So if you are scanning a landscape, use a higher depth range, and if you are scanning an object, decrease this value. So in this case, I will decrease the depth range to a minimum value. Actually, I'll just take it to approximately 1 meter because I'm scanning an object here. Then voxel size is simply the size of triangular facets which LIDAR sensor creates after scanning. So smaller the voxel size, better will be the quality of your output. If you are scanning an object, make sure that voxel size is small. Now simplification is simply how simplified your final result is. So smaller the simplification, higher will be the resolution, and higher the simplification, well, the resolution won't be that good. So with the smaller simplification, we can produce great results with objects. So with these settings, I'll process this scan. So here we are now processing this scan, and now we are doing it with our own custom settings. And here is the final result. Now this result will be certainly better than the default settings because we have provided all the parameters ourselves based on this scan that we have. So as you can see, I've just scanned a simple object and I've used a parameter which best suits this kind of object. So it will definitely give you a better result when you compare it with a simple space scan. So that's how you can change these settings to better suit the environment or the area you are scanning. Finally, let's talk about exporting this scan data. Now to do that, I'll just select this scan, and here you can export it simply by selecting this share option, which is here on the top. Now select the share option, and this is the kind of screen which you get. And as you can see, there are several export options. So we have OBJ, FBX, STL, and several other formats in which you can export. And if you want to export it as a video, click this video option, and here we have two types of video format. So you can select orbit or path. Now since this kind of looks like a path, I'll use this path option, and this will create a video that looks like this, as if we are moving on this path. Of course, this will rotate the camera as well, and you can play the slider to see the preview from orbit as well as path perspective. Now I'll click on save just to save this export data, and it will let you save it locally as well as you can share it online. So I'll just save it locally on my phone. So I'll click on this save option, and this will save it in the gallery. Now once saved, you can see the result. And here is the final result. So this is the video which it created, and of course after creating this video you can share it, and this is created with path. And this is another one which is created with orbit feature. So this video, well, of course, as you can see, the path is not that big, so orbit was used for this one. Now to wrap it up, these are two final scans which I want to share. So this is just a simple statue which I scanned, and in this case, after scanning, I used the object processing for processing this one. Though as you can see, it is scanned in outer environment, still I used object because of the statue here. And then this is the studio of my friend which I scanned. As you can see, there are a lot of textures and areas with different lighting conditions, and still it just managed to scan everything in so much detail. So all the lights and everything are scanned really very good, and the texture is retained really good as well. So that's another example of this scan.